have fun.
Okay.
Thanks.
So let me share again. The reason I haven't closed all of these duplicate DB2 requests is because I think once I close them, SailPoint is going to create another one. So I'm just gonna let them sit. I might close one or two and see if it creates another one, but I think it's going to. So that's why all of these are open. So the newest requests are these here. I want to say these two. So I'm going to, looking at this one, there's really kind of no clue on what he's talking about. The only thing that kind of makes sense to me is he's saying a functional group. And that's a key to me that he's talking about Encore. Because Encore contains functional groups. I think Johnny did a session on Encore with you.
Oh.
Go ahead.
I think so.
Okay. I'm just gonna log it into Encore. On your desktop, I believe you have an icon called Encore, internal Encore.
Okay.
Yep, I have that.
Okay. I am going to log in with my LAN ID and password.
I think I must be opening it for the first time because I got like a command prompt and it's doing all kinds of stuff.
Because they do application releases, it does automatically do updates if there's one available every time you open it.
Oh, okay.
It will eventually give you the little box for you to put in your ID and password. Once it's opened, you'll get this black screen. We're going to change this drop down to security administration. And then we're going to do a synchronize.
You said the username and password is your normal.
Your normal, yes, normal ID and password. And so, Nazneen, you do have it on your desktop as well?
No, I don't see that.
Yeah, I don't think we had a section this. I mean, this isn't looking familiar to me.
Okay.
But yeah, I got login user not authenticated.
Okay. So I'm going to look. Well, maybe you didn't. I'm going to go under maintain users and see if I can find it.
So how this is relevant to the ticket that you have seen on the ServiceNow?
So he mentioned functional group. He wants to add the basal maintenance functional group to this role. Roles and functional groups are in Encore. That's my trigger to know that he's talking about Encore.
Okay.
because he mentions roles and functional groups. And so, Bryce, what's your ID? BCARP01, is that it?
It's 02. Actually, I tried again and I got through, so I must have typed the wrong password first time.
Oh, okay. All right. You are active. Let me just show you your ID. Users get access to Encore by a role. Our role is identity and access management, which you are assigned. What he
And I'm sorry to interrupt. Does these roles that users are members of in Encore,
Mm-hmm.
is that something that SailPoint assigns to them?
Yes, you can request that in SailPoint.
Okay. And do users get do they get roles automatically when they get hired, or is it something that they request?
Only a few groups have added roles to their birthright, the birthright roles. Most times it's something that they request.
Okay.
Okay? Let's go back. So, I don't know why this keeps going to the other screen. I'm going to reset this. I'm going to go, so let me go back to the request. He wants you to add this functional group to this role. So I am going to go under the credit risk analyst role. And this was submitted by David Stuber. So if I go under maintain role, I am looking for the credit risk, and of course, so he called it the credit risk analyst, but I think what he means is the FRM credit risk analyst. But that's something I'm going to confirm. So I'm going to select this role. I'm going to modify it. And then if I look under the functional group assigned to this role, these are available groups, and these are the functional groups that are currently assigned. So he asked to have the basal maintenance, and it's really hard to see that. So he needs the basal classification maintenance role, which is here.
Is it not in the alphabetical order?
Say that again.
Is it not assigned as an alphabetical order, like going through BA, something like that?
It is. It's under the, a lot of times they're not going to give you the exact name. So what did he say? He said basal maintenance, and it's basal classification maintenance. So the role does not include that functional group. But in order to add it, I need two things. I need the role owner to approve and also the functional group owner. So I'm going to cancel this. The role owner is Kelly Rakers. And the functional group owner is also Kelly Rakers. David Stuker. So I need to get additional approval. If I look at the RITM, like this task that's assigned to us is part of a RITM and an REQ request when they open the request. Sometimes, if they submitted it correctly, if they assign, there's a place to add an approver. The only problem you have with that, like let's say I come and add Kelly Rakers here. When you involve, like I just know these are directors and managers. Usually when you involve them and you tell them to go into ServiceNow and approve, they'll say, how do I do that? So most times I send them an email and ask them to reply to the email with their approval. Because what's going to happen, if you add them here and they don't approve it, then you can't close the request. Then you have to involve the ServiceNow team to close the request. It just depends on who you're working with. The proper way to do it would be to add them here, and tell them to approve it in ServiceNow. I just kind of know with these two, it's best if I just go through email. So what I'm going to do, I think you all, I don't know if you created a rule, but when a request is submitted in our queue, we get an email. I'm going to look up this task in my email, and I'll show you what I mean. So this is the email that's sent to the team, when we get a new task. I'm going to forward this email to Kelly. Basal classification. David Huber. And then I always so if she doesn't approve right away, then it will go after. So, and once, if she does approve, I will attach this email to the ticket, before closing the request. So I'm gonna send that. On the ticket, I'm going to assign it to myself, and then I'm just going to add a note.
So before starting to work on any tickets, we need to assign ourselves first and then try to look into it.
Yeah, you do. Yes, you do. Once you start working on it, just so I won't come in and both of us are sending emails to Kelly.
Okay.
And so this now, goes in work in progress under my ID. I think there was one, so it's now work in progress. And it looks like we've gotten some more. Oh, this is a new one. But I'm going to do the other request. You try to do them in the order that they come. So I'm going to look at this unlock. So this is from Ardarsh Shetty. He's saying his password is expiring in 2 days. He did specify his A420 account, but he should be able to change that himself, since it's expiring in 2 days. So I'm just going to look in StonePoint and just see if I see if he attempted to change it.
And I'm bringing that. I know you already went over this, but there was something about how if people reset their database, their mainframe password through SailPoint, then it doesn't work because of that flag or whatever.
Yeah. Once it expires, they have to have a temporary password assigned. Because SailPoint will not recognize an expired password.
Oh, okay. So as long as they do it before it expires, then they're good to go.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm just going to look under his event. I guess there's a couple of things I need to look at. I'm just going to sort this by the most recent. So it looks like his last password change, he did a reset, and he did it on 4/26. So yeah, he's right. He's got, but it looks like it failed when he tried to do it. All right, so now I'm gonna look. So I kind of go directly to the mainframe, but you don't have to. If we look under his accounts and we look under A420, here, I'm gonna look for that password today shield. And it looks like he never changed his password from when I reset it 2 months ago. So I would assume he doesn't know the password, and he's getting the 10-day messages, that say your password is gonna expire. So I'm gonna go ahead and so I'm gonna reach out to him in Slack. Let's see if I can get a response. And I kind of went through that kind of quickly. Nazneen, did you see what I was looking for under his events? Like, I was checking to see.
Yeah.
Sort this again. So okay, that makes sense. Okay, just to see what was going on. And I'm just asking him, is this a good time to send him a push? And I don't know, Slack has been really slow for me today. Come on. And I kind of broke my own rule when you signed this to me. And you're kind of at the mercy of them responding. So if we go to the next one, which is a DB2. Let me just see here.
Did you change the status to work in progress, or does that
Yes,
automatically?
I did. Yes, I did.
Okay.
It was this one.
Okay.
Okay. And then I'm just going to go back to this page. And I mean, once Krishna fixes the rule for the DB2 aggregation, these duplicates should stop. I just kind of know what's a duplicate and what's not because I completed them. So this one is not a duplicate. And then I believe there is another one that is not a duplicate. But I'm going to go ahead. Okay. So you kind of need to, you need to know the ID and you need to know the DB2 group before you can go to the mainframe. However you want to do it, you can put this in Notepad, or you can just, switch back and forth screens. Those are just two things you need to know before we can make the update. I'm going to assign it to myself. And then I just got a message from Adarsh saying now it's good. So I'm going to go into SailPoint. And I'm going to do the change other password. I'm just going to send a message to him that I'm sending this now. I'm selecting him. The dual authentication. And then I'm going to do a submit. I did send him a note saying, I'm sending it now. Please approve it. And he did. Now here, I need to select A420 and his account. And I click next, and he's a password that is going to set. I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to click submit. Now, I believe it's okay for you to send this password in Slack as long as the Slack message does not include the user ID. So now I'm going to go to the mainframe. Let me see if I can move Slack over here. So now I need to sign into the mainframe. I guess you do kind of need to know what his ID was. And you can always, check that in SailPoint. But it did list it on the screen when you did the password change. So that's something else you kind of need to keep track of. But it's SC#CHSA. So I'm going to list it. It has the password expire attribute on it, which I'm going to remove. Just by doing no password expire. Once I hit enter, it's just gonna list the ID again, and the password expire is gone. So I so I'm going to, hopefully he changes it. I will check back with him to make sure he does, which it doesn't look like I did 2 months ago.
And Bernita, when you tell people to change their password in SailPoint, do they usually know what that means, or do you have to like send them a link?
Yeah, they usually know.
Okay.
And then some of the users that are, mainframe users, they'll say, do I have to? I'll just change it on the mainframe. And that's fine also. Once you get to know those users, you don't have to worry about removing that password expiration field, because you want it to expire when they log in, the way, Nazanin logged in. But you don't get many of those because they already know how to change that password when they log in. So, so I will check that with him to make sure. And an entry should show up here of him attempting to change it. So I'll come back to that one. But I believe we were going to do a DB2 request. And again, I don't expect you to remember this. I'm just kind of going to, go through it. So I'm going to the library that stores the job that we use to update the DB2 group. So I'm going to go under utilities. And I believe the doc says, so what I'm doing, I'm going under utilities. Once I go under utilities, I'm choosing option 4. But you can do that all in one step. I believe the doc says you can do 3.4. And that's taking me directly to where I want to go. It's listing your ID here, Bryce, because I went to your library previously. So it just kind of captures that. I'm going to change that to my ID so it will list all of my libraries. I want to select the library called My ID APS2 JCL. I'm going to do an E because I want to edit that library because there's something I need to change in that job to submit it. Because I have so many jobs, I'm just going to do a find on that, which is a locate. And it just brings that entry right to the top. And when you see my cursor move, I'm just hitting my tab key. Or you could just move your cursor, just click there. I'm going to select it. And I'm still in edit mode. And all of this is just warning messages. If you don't want to see that, you can just do a reset, which is RES, and that wipes it out. So the only line I'm changing here is line 7. So for one of those requests, it's for this user ID, and it's for this DB2 group. So I'm going to go back here, change the DB2 group, and change the IP. So this command here, this set entry into source group. DB2 groups are considered source groups in ACF2. So it's just saying, I want to get in source group mode. And once I'm in there, I want to change this DB2 group. And, when you say add, we're just talking about new data. So the command is new data. What we're doing is just changing this DB2 group to add this user ID. So I had 2 requests in the queue, and you can submit multiple requests. But again, lines 1 through 6, I don't need to touch them. I'm going to, you can submit this, or we can do it all in one shot. I'm going to repeat. And what I'm doing is just type in an R anywhere in these numbers for repeat and hit enter. If it takes, try it again, R. And it's just going to repeat the line. And what I'm going to do is change this to that other request. The DB2 group was RTY, and the ID was
So, Bernita, this is basically just like a small script that you're setting up here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And what I need to do now is submit it. So I need to be on this command line. So I'm just going to press my home key to take me to the command line. And to submit the script or the JCL, you can type submit, or you can just type SUB, short for submit. And I'm going to hit enter. And it tells you, that this job was submitted. And then you get this 3 asterisks where it's telling you to hit enter. runs pretty quickly. This is the result of that job, and you want to pay attention to the condition code. You always want all zeros. So it means that this ran successfully. We get the 3 asterisks and hit enter. To exit out of here, what it's going to do though is save these 2 entries that you submitted. So, as long as you remember when you come in here again, you just need to modify this. I'm just going to hit my function 3 key. And I'm going to go back to the main menu. So I'm just hitting function 3 until I get back to the primary option menu. Now, it did say that the job ran successfully. So in order for me to just take a look at the output of that job, I need to go into a held queue, or just a queue that holds the output of any job that you submit. So I'm going to choose option 8 and hit enter. And then I want to go to the held output queue, which is option H. Here are jobs that I submitted. I'm going to go to the last one, or the most recent one. I'm just going to go to the right, and I'm just hitting my tab. And I'm just going to put a S there to select it. Here are my return codes. It's the 0. If I go further down, like this is all statistics. But here is the command to get into source group mode. It lists the command where I said change this DB2 group and add this ID. What it does, it adds the ID, but it also lists all of the existing IDs in the group. So it comes back and says, this is a source group, this is the entry. Then all of the IDs that are already included in that are listed. So it's just, and the ID that you added will be the last entry. Because I did 2 at a time, now it's going to the next entry where I said change this DB2 group and add this ID. It comes back and adds the ID and says, okay, here you go. Here's the source group. Here's we're in source group mode, and here's the DB2 group name. So again, it's just listing all of the IDs, and the ID that I added will be the last in the list. One other thing to note, what else can I was going to say? If it does not work, I'm just going to do this right quick. let's say I give it an invalid ID. So I'm just gonna to delete this. I'm just gonna do a delete that line. I'm just gonna show you what an error looks like. But just before I mention that, for me to remove, I would just change this from new to old. So it would just be old data instead of new data. And again, I would just change the DB2 group name and the user ID. I am going to put an ID here that I know does not exist. So OC. So I'm telling it now to update this DB2 group with this ID. If I go to my command line and I type submit, shows me that job was submitted. I don't believe it worked. Well, okay. At least be something. I should get an error somewhere. So I'm going back to my help queue. I didn't think it would do that. Okay, so that record does not exist, but it added it. Okay. Shocking to me. Okay, so sorry guys, I thought it would give you an error. Maybe it'll give you an error if the DB2 group is invalid. But since it added that, I'm going to remove it. So I'm just going to change this to old data. And it's kind of remembering, it's like something. What is it doing? So I just changed that to old data. Same ID. I'm gonna submit it. I go to my build queue. Going to the last job I submitted. Now look at that. Make this one mine, don't I? I don't know what's going on with my system. Okay. Just showing the old data command. And now that entry is gone. Now there is an additional step that I haven't gone over, but I think that's kind of enough for right now. Like there is a refresh. Maybe I'll just go through it and we'll go over it again. So, kind of like in SailPoint where we have to do refreshes on individual users to get our workflow to kick off. In ACF2, I need to do a refresh on those source groups in order for the addition to be activated. In your library, same library, you have an entry called refresh. I think you only have one entry in yours. I am going to copy this. So for the source group type, we're doing this new XREF, which just means it's a refresh. So I am going to copy this, that command. I'm going to F3, back to the menu. But now I need to go into the system log to do a refresh. So I'm going to do an 8 again, but instead of going to my held queue, I'm going to the system log. So I'm typing log. This is where you see, just system data. You can see where users have logged in, where they're getting violations. There's a lot of stuff in here. I'm just going to paste that command and hit enter. You paste down to the bottom of the log, you see the command that I issued right here. And then you'll see ACF2 respond saying that that table was rebuilt. What really, the thing is, I kind of mentioned this a while ago. I'm going to, right now I'm in A420. I'm going to get out of here. There are 2 production instances in ACF2. One is called A420, one is called PRD2. So I just did a refresh on A420 because when you access production, you can log into A420 or PRD2. I need to do a refresh on PRD2. When you do a password change, the password change is reflected in both instances, but because I'm doing a refresh of a specific table or group, I need to do a refresh on both instances. And another way to explain it, depending on what the user is doing, they may log into A420, they may log into PRD2. I only did the refresh on A420, and they attempted to access that database on PRD2. You're going to get an access denied because I haven't done the refresh there. So I am going to log in to PRD2, same way I did A420. That command that I copied is still cached. I'm going to go to the log, and I'm just going to paste that command. And here's my command, and here's the response. now that user can go to A420 or PRD2 and they will have access. So I know that part, is kind of confusing. For ENCE, there are 3 instances. And again, the DB2 requests that come from SailPoint are for production only. We do get DB2 requests for EMCB or the dev instances, but those would be a ServiceNow request, but those would be manual requests that they submit in ServiceNow, not from SailPoint. So I'm just gonna, ask, do you have any questions? I'm sure you probably don't. We will go through that again. But now I can come here and close this request. The only thing, so I just usually do a generic comment. And I will close. So that sends something to SailPoint saying this is done, but the next time that user is refreshed, it's gonna say, wait a minute, this user doesn't have DB2 because it wasn't included in the aggregation. So this is gonna end up being a duplicate request. Probably, it usually takes a couple of days. Maybe not tomorrow, but maybe the next day. So tell me, did I lose you guys? Is it somewhat making sense?
For me, it's somewhat making sense. I need to put more hands on.
Okay. Just to repeat what Jeremy said, it's kind of a repetitive process.